You would want me in there?
Yes, but I'm on the back. I'm on the back.
You don't have to.
Step out. I'm just waiting on one of my artists to get.
As a surprise turn of events, Terence Crawford almost fought Canelo Alvarez but lost his cool. It was said to happen at a recent press meeting. Since then, the full video of the event has gone viral, showing the tense moment that almost led to a fight at this point in his career. Terence Crawford has achieved so much that he can only afford to be straightforward in a recent conversation about his upcoming bout with Israel, his relationship with Shakur Stevenson, and the chance of a rematch with Errol Spence Jr. Crawford was surprisingly honest. People talked a lot about Crawford's next opponent, especially after his fight with Madrimov on August 3rd. Many people think that he should fight IBF champion Jim Boots if he beats Madrimov, which is a possibility that may be accepted too soon. And this earlier this month, the guy from Philadelphia beat David Aonian by TKO in a shocking finish. In the past 6 months, he and his manager Eddie Hearn have both been actively going after Crawford. Crawford, known for his willingness to face all challengers, has voiced a clear preference at age 36 for a showdown with fellow future Hall of Famer Canelo Alvarez over a match with the rising star Indies Crawford. Crawford claimed that a bout between him and Canelo would happen at 168 pounds. Crawford said, "Where I'm at right now, I'm looking at the fight that makes the most sense, and that's not Boots. Canelo is going to bring way more to my legacy, way more to my bank account at the end of the day when boxing is done with what we have. I want to have a legacy that people talk about for ages, and not only that, I want a bank account that will last for ages." It is difficult to not respect and comprehend such a response. Crawford has achieved everything in boxing to be unquestionably inducted into the Hall of Fame. Given his ability to fight at a world-class level, he remains capable of taking on champions, but he wisely ensures his risks are well calculated. Should Crawford perform brilliantly against Madison, he would likely be favored to beat Ennis. Yet it's the type of match where a legendary champion might suddenly age in the ring. This decline frequently occurs when a veteran like Crawford meets a rising and defeated talent like Ennis. Although Crawford would earn a substantial sum by defeating Ennis, it would be minor compared to the earnings he'd gotten from out with Canelo. One could say that Crawford and Canelo stand as the two most prominent fighters since the Floyd Mayweather era. Crawford boasts an impressive 40-0 record, with 31 of those wins coming by knockout, and he has clinched titles in 3 different weight divisions. This remarkable achievement cements his reputation as one of the sport's all-time greats. Well, apart from setbacks against Mayweather and Dimitri Bivol, Canelo remains unbeaten by any other rival despite their advancing years. Crawford and Canelo remain top-tier boxers, making a possible bout between them one of the most anticipated in traditional boxing. I emphasize traditional because the commercial effect of a Jake Paul vs. Conor McGregor fight could be unpredictable. Crawford will now face Madrimov in a test, and after this fight we'll see if any of the possibilities have altered.
I consider Israel the best 154-pounder in the division right now. So why not go for the top guy in the division right off the bat? I want to leave a legacy that's never been left before. You know, inside and outside the ring, business-minded, just helping the young fighters coming up, you know, giving them the courage and the outlet that the fighters before me never gave to us, you know, and at the same time, be at the top on my game as well. I always tell everybody I never go in the ring looking for the knockout, but if I smell blood and it's there, he out of there.
Turki Al-Sheikh, the head of Saudi Arabia's General Entertainment Authority, has announced his desire to see a bout between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford in the near future. However, he warned the Mexican boxer not to push too hard on the financial terms for the anticipated match. The eagerly awaited match between the two fighters is finally on the horizon, with Turki Al-Sheikh showing a strong interest in bringing it to fruition as Saudi Arabia asserts its growing power in the contemporary boxing scene. There's a note of caution to consider, Al-Sheikh said as per ESPN. "I will give Canelo the price I think is fair. If he accepts it, he will deal directly with me to finalize the deal. I don't want anyone in the middle. I guaranteed Crawford a big fight. I want Canelo for Crawford, and Crawford wants Canelo. But if Canelo goes crazy with his financial demands, I'll still guarantee Crawford any fight he wants." The highly anticipated clash between the top-tier resilient and exceptionally strategic boxers will be postponed until 2025, as both fighters have prior commitments in 2020 for Canelo. This would mean only 10 weeks to recuperate and gear up for a training camp to take on Crawford in 2024, a task that's daunting even for a fighter of his esteemed character and storied legacy. Alec has stated that he wants to have the North American Super bout in 2025, There are earlier scheduled games for both men. Alshik has promised to deliver a major event for Crawford and plans to work with him going forward earlier in the week. Canelo announced his next move. He'll be back in the ring to defend his super middleweight title against Edgar Berlanga on September 14th in Las Vegas. Canelo is still the WBA, WBC, and WBO king despite losing his IBF title and no longer being the undisputed champion. If both he and Crawford win, an offer will be made to close the 14-pound gap between their weight classes and plan a fight between them from December 2020 to November 2021. Canelo dominated the 168B division, defeating all three undefeated world champions within just 11 months to claim the WBA, WBC, IBF, and WBO titles. At the time, he was the undisputed super middleweight champion in the boxing industry's pound-for-pound ruler. However, Canelo went too far when he challenged one of the top contenders at light heavyweight and ended up losing to Dimitri Bivol. The Mexican has since sensibly moved back up to super middleweight and has been defending his titles. Currently, Canelo finds himself in a predicament that has led to him being stripped of his IBF world title. He was mandated to defend against William Sculla, lesser known IBF mandatory challenger, in his upcoming fight on September 14th. Canelo has chosen to fight Berlanga instead, though, as this is not a highly marketable bout. As a result, he no longer has undisputed status and has lost his IBF championship.
You know, I always say if the fight make sense, why not? But he's not in the plan. Like I say, if makes sense, maybe. I don't know right now. I just wanna enjoy this fight, and please let me enjoy this fight, and then you gonna know what is next for sure.
Amidst the buzz about the possible Canelo vs. Crawford match, an interview with former WBA super lightweight champion Rolando Romero, who shared his prediction for their fight months ago, has recently resurfaced. The potential showdown between Crawford and Canelo could turn into one of the most important fights of our time. His Excellency Turki Alik has shown enthusiasm for staging this epic fight between the two icons in Saudi Arabia. Crawford is allegedly eager to face Canelo Alvarez in a bid to secure the undisputed title across three weight divisions, pocket a substantial purse, and then retire from boxing. But do you think Crawford can outperform a fighter like Alvarez at 168 pounds? Since November 2021, the Mexican boxer has dominated the super middleweight class. In contrast, Crawford has spent most of his career in the welterweight class, making a win over the significantly larger Canelo Alvarez a formidable challenge. This point was echoed by Romero some time back and has recently been noted by a boxing commentator on X. Romero predicted firmly, if Terence Crawford moves up to fight Canelo, then it's going to be a worse fight than Gerald Charlo running around against Canelo. Emma will tell you straight up Canelo by murdering Crawford. They have weight class for a reason. Gerald Charlo, the EXL middleweight champion, moved up to weight classes to face the Mexican star last year. However, Alvarez won decisively over the previously undefeated Charlo. This result underscored the difficulties faced by fighters moving up in weight classes. Romero later suggested that Crawford would have a better chance of succeeding at 154 pounds rather than 168. One must not underestimate a fighter of Bud's caliber. Throughout his career, he has consistently showcased extraordinary skills, including a remarkable streak of 11 consecutive knockout wins. Many in the boxing world are confident that Bud would come out on top against the Mexican boxer despite any differences in their weight classes. Despite Rally Romero's grim forecast, the majority of the boxing world thinks that Terence Crawford is the single fighter capable of delivering Canelo Alvarez his third loss. Crawford's move to light middleweight is seen as a strategic effort to bridge the gap between himself and Canelo, while some assume that Bud has less chance of winning the divisions. Undisputed champion Claressa Shields thinks that the only man that can beat Canelo is Terence Crawford. That's just what I think, and I want to see it, even though Alvarez is a skilled boxer and WBC lightweight king. Shocker Stevenson thinks Crawford might beat him. Furthermore, boxing pundit and coach Teddy Atlas picked Bud over Canelo and said, "It's a tremendous challenge because Canelo is a tremendous fighter and bigger and stronger, and he can punch and time you, but just because you're smaller, Crawford will come up with a game plan that will make the other guy use his size." Before their official fight, Crawford and Alvarez are set to face Madrimov and Berlanga, respectively. After these matches, they will likely start focused on preparing for their anticipated confrontation. Should the fight between Canelo Alvarez and Crawford come to fruition, anticipation is expected to rise. One emerging boxing talent is confident that the bout will indeed take place and believes that Bud has a genuine chance to be the first fighter to knock Alvarez out. Kessin Davis recently conveyed to Fight Hub TV that he thinks a fight will occur, especially if Terence Crawford performs well against Madrimov. He suggested that after such a performance, it would become almost necessary for the two fighters to face each other, stressing that both men must desire the match. Davis mentioned that once Crawford proves himself, Canelo should be ready to take on the challenge.
But I think they will fight, especially after Terence Crawford looks great against this opponent right here. Well, it's not an opponent, against this guy right here. You know what I'm saying? I feel like after that it's gonna be almost mandatory for him to fight. But two men gonna want to have to fight each other. Understand what I'm saying? Can't just be one man. So after Terence Crawford prove himself, then Canelo should be up for it.
Even though Alvarez is at ease competing at 168 pounds and Crawford has recently transitioned from 147 to 154 pounds for his bout with Madrimov, Davis is confident that Crawford's talent will propel him to victory over Canelo, possibly with a spectacular knockout. Davis noted that while Alvarez has a clear size advantage, size alone does not determine the outcome of a fight. He pointed out that a fighter needs to bring more to the table than just size, power, or speed, emphasizing the importance of different skills. He added that if Crawford knocks out Madrimov in his upcoming fight, it would also be important.
I mean, it's obvious he got the size advantage, you know what I'm saying? But size don't mean everything in the fight. Like, size really don't mean everything in the fight. You gotta bring more to the table than just size, than just power, than just speed. You gotta bring a lot of things to the table when it comes to a fight, so we're gonna get to that fight later.
Wait, I'm gonna put you in the spot real quick. I'm gonna put you in the spot, all right?
What's up?
Put you in the spot. You think he can knock him out? Because Shakur was very open and said, I know you've been in camp with Crawford. He's knocked out heavyweights, he's knocked out middleweight. You think he can knock out Canelo?
I think he can knock out Canelo, yes.
Yeah?
For sure. And if he does that, I mean, that's gonna be crazy. If he knock out this guy, that he fight coming up, that's gonna be crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, this guy is a young, hungry lion. Like, this guy not coming there just to lay down, and he's a bigger, and he actually can really fight. This guy got real IQ. This guy can really fight. So, Terence outbox him like he about to do. Terence about to knock him out like he about to do. Whatever he about to go in there and do and get the win, it's just gonna be crazy. Because this matchup is just crazy for him to even get into.
Noting that Madrimov is a young, hungry competitor, Davis has a different perspective compared to those who believe that weight will be a crucial factor in Terence's potential defeat against Canelo, despite Canelo's refusal to move from his preferred weight class, which suggests he might cause considerable damage given his expertise at 168 pounds compared to Crawford. Davis is confident that Crawford's exceptional boxing intelligence will eventually prevail, doubling down on his prediction. Davis further stated that Terence Crawford is prepared to outbox and knock out his opponent as necessary to secure a win. He stressed that whatever Crawford needs to do to achieve victory will be remarkable, describing the matchup as extraordinary and intense. Curiously, Crawford boasts a knockout rate of 77.5%, finishing 31 out of his 40 fights with a KO, surpassing Canelo's rate of 63.9%. In contrast, Canelo has chosen to go the distance in his last 4 fights, rather than scoring early knockouts as he approaches the later stages of his career. Canelo will likely require a big financial incentive to take on top-tier opponents like Terence Crawford or David Novitz. Eddie Hearn, Canelo's previous promoter, disclosed the reason behind the Mexican icon's unwillingness to face Crawford. In the meantime, in a May interview with Top or Eddie Hearn, he stated that Alvarez is probably going to reject a fight with Crawford because of the significant weight difference between them. He added that Canelo wants to fight a closer weight class opponent for a lot of money. Remember Canelo's $200 million price tag for a possible fight with Benavidez? Hearn asserted, "When I met Saul, he wasn't crazy on that Crawford fight. He just felt that you have got a welterweight coming up to light middleweight going up to super middleweight and that he wouldn't get any credit for that win. I think that he would pick Benavidez over Crawford because he knows he would get the credit for that victory, whereas he might not for fighting a guy that is 3 or 4 divisions lower." Canelo Alvarez began his boxing career in the light welterweight division and gradually progressed to light heavyweight. Therefore, Terence Crawford making a similar leap between weight classes is certainly within the realm of possibility. However, Canelo's established comfort in the super middleweight division must be considered. A sudden transition from 147 to 168 pounds for Crawford might impact his agility and punching speed. Even though both Bud and Canelo Alvarez have their next opponents lined up, the talks about a potential showdown between them continue to persist. There's a yearning to see them fight because they are 2 of the greatest pound-for-pound boxers in the world, and because Crawford has disregarded their size difference. Brian McIntyre, who has been Bud's trainer for many years, recently expressed his thoughts on the possibility of facing the Mexican fighter in their next match. Brian is confident that the super middleweight champion would encounter major difficulties against a Nebraska native if they fought soon. Canelo has been in the game long enough to know what he's doing. If Crawford does get Canelo right after the Madoff fight, Canelo might just be in a little bit of trouble because Crawford has got that rhythm. He's into that rhythm in his groove. It's a beneficial thing for Terence. Terence Crawford is the favored contender in his upcoming WBA title bout against Israel, but nevertheless prominent boxing promoter Eddie Hearn has delivered a troubling forecast for Crawford's fans. The chairman of Matchroom Boxing is confident that Madrimov is the most formidable opponent Bud has encountered by a large margin. Hearn also noted that the talk surrounding potential fights for the Nebraska native against Canelo Alvarez or Gervonta suggests that Madrimov is not getting the attention he deserves. This is what the promoter mentioned in a recent interview. "I've got bad feelings for Terence Crawford against Israel Madrimov because all I hear is Crawford. Canelo Crawford's boots. Crawford is fighting the biggest puncher he's ever met on August 3rd. I'm telling you now, if Crawford gets hit on the chin by Israel Madrimov, he's going to really know about it. I've got a really sneaky feeling for my guy on August 3rd. I really have. I think it's a really tough fight." A matchup between Canelo and Crawford would spark immense excitement among fans, and Canelo was previously eager to capitalize on the financial opportunities that the American welterweight champion could give. Canelo stated a few months ago that Crawford is a great fighter, clearly 3 divisions below. "As I've said before, I've faced bigger guys in my category, smaller guys, older guys, and younger guys. At the end of the day, I was born to fight, and I'll fight anyone, obviously on terms that fit me best at this point in my career. I'll always make the best fights, but they have to help me. It depends on the money. Why not?" Canelo is prepared to meet the request of Turki Alek, an advisor to the Saudi royal court and head of the General Authority for Entertainment in Saudi Arabia. Alek said on MMAR, "I'm working on the Canelo vs. Crawford fight. I want this fight. We're considering doing it in the United States because we want it to be big in a great stadium and give a good pay-per-view. We want it to be at the end of the year or early next year." However, Canelo had a change of heart about a possible fight against Crawford after dominating Errol Spence Jr. last year to win the undisputed welterweight championship. Crawford turned his attention to the super middleweight belt. In answer, Canelo totally disregarded confronting the inherently smaller man in his conversation with Box Asa. He said, "No. I will never fight Crawford. People criticize me fighting Chero because he was coming up in weight. So now picture Crawford going from welterweight to 168 pounds. I have everything to lose and nothing to gain because if I win, they'll say, oh, he was too small and everything." Amir Khan, who has fought both Alvarez and Crawford, says that Crawford might be better off pursuing other opponents. Khan's experience with both fighters gives him insight into the significant challenges they each bring. Khan, who lost to Alvarez in 2016 and Crawford in 2019, has voiced his disapproval of the planned matchup between Crawford and Alvarez. He said, "I don't think Crawford should take that fight because he doesn't need it. There are other fights out there he could take and make big money from. You can always get hurt when you're facing a big puncher like that. You can get hurt, and I don't think it's worth it based on personal experience." Khan thinks Crawford would be better off looking at other options. Instead of going up against Alvarez, he advises Crawford to focus on other boxing challenges, as he feels the match may not be in his best interest. Khan added, "I tell fighters not to jump up too much weight and fight unless the money is ridiculous. I got paid like $10 million when I fought him. It's a lot of money. Usually I get paid like $3 million. I was like, what's the point when I can just take this one fight and get paid for 3 fights? Khan further revealed it's not only that, it's all the training, classes, and everything really. I went there for the big pay, but I started believing I was going to win the fight. That's why I was up on points. But he hit me with the big shot, and he put me away." Terence Crawford has not yet discussed what his alternative plan will be if Canelo Alvarez declines to defend his undisputed super middleweight title against him in 2025. If superstar Canelo turns down the chance to fight Crawford, the Nebraska native may have to set aside his pride and face the rising star's boots. Andes, this would likely be his best chance for a significant payday before retiring. Crawford's comment makes it obvious that he's after a big payday from a fight with Canelo, which is likely off-putting for the Mexican star. It could be discouraging for Canelo to see that many other fighters share the same viewpoint. Crawford's over-eagerness for a bout with Canelo might make the fight less attractive to him. Everyone is down on their hands and knees, begging Canelo for a life-changing payday that would allow them to retire and indulge in a luxurious life in Beverly Hills, eating caviar and fine wine. If Crawford showed his commitment by stepping up to 168 pounds and proving himself like other dedicated super middleweights, Canelo might consider giving him a shot. However, if Crawford is moving up 3 weight classes, it is solely for financial reasons, as he himself has stated. Canelo has little to gain from the fight except the chance to assist a veteran fighter nearing the end of his career.
How can you, a man coming from 147, I know he's a great man. Crawford is a great man and a great warrior. But you come from 147 to put on a better fight than I mean, I don't even know what that means. I don't know if that means that Crawford is so great and he can do that, or that means that Charlo set the bar so damn low that anybody could do better than Charlo did last night.
If Canelo sticks to his guns and doesn't face Crawford, Terence has many choices before he retires his boots. Andes is an ideal backup opponent for Crawford, showcasing his ability to beat a younger, stronger, and more exciting version of himself. Andes is a dynamic fighter who brings action to the ring without the gimmicks that have sometimes hindered Crawford's success throughout his career. Sebastian Fonder is another choice. Crawford isn't going to get the golden parachute payment he's looking for before retiring, since the towering Inferno isn't popular enough. Then there is Tim Tszyu. Crawford wouldn't make a lot of money battling this unpopular opponent after losing to Fonder in his most recent match. Tszyu, the former WBO 154-pound champion, is trying to turn things around. Virgil Ortiz Jr. lacks widespread recognition and is considered unreliable because of his ongoing health problems. If Crawford chose to pursue a fight against Ortiz Jr., it could turn into a major headache, as Ortiz's tendency to withdraw due to various ailments could be a significant concern.
I'm supposed to fight Madrimov. I'm the #1 contender for the WBA. You know, once a boxer becomes a champion, they have to fight the #1 guy. It becomes the mandatory. I'm the mandatory. If they're gonna skip over me, that's gonna be. Is it a good fight? Yeah, but I'm supposed to be the one fighting Madrimov. When I heard that news, I was like, what the. Like, that's supposed to be me. You know, a lot of fans say, oh, how come we don't fight this guy or whatever, or I'm trying to fight the best, but I mean, you see that it's not under my control. Like, if it was under my control, I would have fought the world champions already at 140. I would have fought him at 147. You know, it kind of, it feels, you know, I feel like I'm just kind of on the sideline at this point. People are getting mad at me for not fighting the best. Like, I'm not getting the opportunity.
David Benavidez poses the greatest challenge for Crawford. If he's trying to secure a bout with Canelo, overcoming the Mexican monster would solidify Crawford's claim to a fight with Canelo. Yet Crawford seems unlikely to even broach Benavidez, fully aware of the dangerous outcome that awaits him in such a clash. It's similar to tossing a juicy steak to a ravenous lion. If Crawford doesn't secure a victory in his upcoming bout against WBA junior middleweight champion Israel Madrimov on August 3rd as part of his Excellency Turkey Al Sheikh's event at __ Stadium in Los Angeles, none of these fighters will be viable choices for him. Crawford is stepping up to 154, taking on the biggest puncher of his career, and having never met a talented opponent before, some predict Crawford to lose to Mag. Crawford's 16-year track record isn't impressive, and now he seems to think he's invincible after beating a series of subpar opponents. While dedicated boxing fans are aware of the limitations in Crawford's career history, casual fans are left in the dark, mistakenly thinking he has faced top-tier competition when in reality he hasn't. Crawford would have to fight Madrimov again if he loses, or else he would have to take on the young lion Jaron Boots. Andes, who sees Crawford as a starting stone. Crawford has little possibility of making a huge sum of money if he continues at 54 because the division is devoid of well-liked boxers after their disastrous encounter last year. Fans would have no interest in watching Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. head off again.
Terence Crawford versus Madrimov. There's a lot to consider here. Terence Crawford is a far better fighter than Madrimov, but Madrimov is a good fighter. I may dare say excellent fighter. And I heard Eddie Hearn say this will be his hardest fight. I agree. Not his most prestigious opponent. I'm talking about physically in the ring that night has the potential to give him the most trouble. 154, Madrimov, a good athlete, good boxer, great puncher. His knockout streak may break. He may get slept. It may be a close fight. He may lose. I got Terence Crawford, but I don't know if I have him by knockout. But I am going to bet on my...
Top 154-pound fighters Sebastian Fonder, Virgil Ortiz Jr. and Tim Tszyu don't have the kind of notoriety that Crawford needs to compete and earn the money he wants before he retires. Crawford won't be happy to fight any of those unknowns for the money he wants to receive before packing it up. Crawford's only possible opponent for a large payout is Boots Ennis, and even then he would have to be prepared to lose badly against the gifted 27-year-old. Some think Ennis could overwhelm the 37-year-old Crawford in the same way he dismantled the 35-year-old David Avanesian on July 13, using relentless pressure to wear him down. It's well known that Crawford fights infrequently, usually just once a year, and rarely faces an opponent of that caliber. Crawford has mentioned unequivocally that he is facing Canelo for the following two reasons. Money legacy: Canelo stands to gain nothing but scorn from fans if he fights Crawford regardless of the result, win or lose. He's sure to face relentless criticism. The only way Canelo would consider a bout with Crawford is if His Excellency Turkey Alec gives him a fortune in compensation.
I can't go down anymore. But you know, like he say, you know, when they ask him for the Gervonta fight, they don't wanna get credit for that fight. It's the same for me. I don't need to take that fight because then everybody's gonna say it's too small, it's too small, it's too small, and then, you know, he need to enjoy his fight.
Okay,
He deserve it. He deserve it. I like Spence, but you know, I like Spence and all the respect for him and everything. But I knew I knew. I think is the type of fight Terence Crawford is fighter is different. 168, but like I say, like he say, nobody's gonna give me credit for that.
Canelo would need to be paid an outrageous sum of money to urge him to assist Crawford in a fight that he alone will be credited for winning. Unless Canelo is given with a fortune of gold diamonds, rupees, and emeralds, fighting Crawford seems pointless. There's little motivation for Canelo, as he'll face a barrage of criticism from fans regardless of whether he sends the money. In a recent conversation with Fight Hype multi-division champ Roy Jones, Canelo pushed Crawford to the edge. Jor expressed his admiration for Canelo's performance in his fight against Yoel Charlo the last time he welcomed an opponent from a higher weight class. Jones was particularly impressed by the Mexican fighter's prowess. He said, "I was highly pleased by his performance against Charlie. The power he showed, he fought the proper fight for the proper opponent. You fight a guy coming up to weight classes, and you're supposed to hit him. If he'd have fought Floyd Mayweather like that back in the day, it would have been a much better fight. He didn't, but he's learned it now. And that shows he's improved and knows boxing more now because he bullied the small guy. Consequently, the attention shifted to Crawford, who, should he win the bout, would be leaping." Just like Carrot Jones said, "I think he's a little big for Crawford. I'm not sure about that. Crawford does have hitting power and he's sharp, but I think Canelo showed he's pretty big. I'd like to see Chero fight Crawford first and see how that goes." Make sure to check out some of our other videos on the screen if you like this one.